Most men die at 25, but are buried at 75. They spend decades pouring their hearts into people who will never remember their names. You give everything, and they give nothing back, and you call it loyalty. This is the trap. You believe that caring harder will make them care back, that sacrifice will earn love, that bleeding yourself dry will finally make you worthy of their attention. But tonight, you will hear a story about a warrior who learned this truth too late. And if you listen carefully, you will see yourself in every word. There once was a knight named Aldric who served a kingdom that had forgotten his name. He had fought in every war, bled on every battlefield, and returned home to silence. The king never called for him. The people never thanked him. Yet every morning, Aldric sharpened his sword and waited by the gate, believing that one day his loyalty would be rewarded. Years passed. Aldric's armor rusted. His hair turned silver. His hands, once steady, now trembled as he gripped the hilt of his blade. One winter, a young squire asked him, "Why do you stay? They do not see you. They do not need you." Aldric looked at the boy with hollow eyes and said, "Because a knight does not abandon his post." But the squire pressed further. "What post? The gate is unmanned. The king sleeps behind walls of gold. You guard a kingdom that has already forgotten there is a war." Aldric had no answer. He had spent his entire life waiting for validation that would never come. He had given everything to people who had given him nothing in return. That night, Aldric walked into the great hall where the king feasted with his lords. He stood at the edge of the firelight, unnoticed, watching them laugh and drink. He remembered the battles, the screams, the friends who died with his name on their lips. He remembered carrying their bodies through the mud while the king stayed warm in his castle. And in that moment, Aldric realized the horrifying truth. Loyalty without reciprocity is not honor. It is self-destruction. He had wasted his life on people who never cared. The next morning, Aldric removed his armor for the last time. He laid his sword at the gate and walked into the forest, carrying nothing but the weight of his regret. He wandered for days, hungry and cold, until he reached a village at the edge of the kingdom. The people there were simple farmers, hunters, woodcutters. They did not know his name. They did not know his service. But when they saw an old man stumbling through the snow, they brought him inside and gave him warmth. A woman placed bread in his hands. A child offered him a blanket. An old man sat beside him and said, "You look like a man who has been carrying the world." Aldric broke. Decades of held breath came pouring out. He wept in front of strangers who had shown him more kindness in 1 hour than his kingdom had in 30 years. The old man listened in silence. Then he spoke. "You have been a soldier, yes? You have given everything to those who took it for granted." Aldric nodded. The old man continued, "Let me tell you something. A tree that gives fruit to a barren field will wither and die, but a tree that gives to fertile soil will grow strong. You are not a bad tree. You were planted in the wrong field. You gave your life to people who were incapable of gratitude. That is not your failure. That is theirs." Aldric stayed in the village. He helped the farmers plow their fields. He taught the children how to defend themselves. He built fences and repaired roofs. And for the first time in his life, people noticed him. Not because he was a knight, but because he was there, present, real, human. One evening, as he sat by the fire, a young man asked, "Why did you leave the kingdom?" Aldric stared into the flames and said, "Because I finally understood the difference between loyalty and enslavement. Loyalty is mutual. It is built on respect, reciprocity, and care. Enslavement is one-sided. You give, they take, and you call it love. The young man nodded slowly. So how do you know when to leave? Aldric's voice was quiet but firm. When you realize you are mourning a relationship that the other person has already abandoned. Months passed. Aldric grew stronger. His hands steadied. His eyes, once hollow, now burned with a quiet fire. He had found his purpose again, but this time, he had found it in the right place. One day, a messenger from the kingdom arrived. The king was under attack. The castle was falling. They needed Aldric to return. The villagers looked at him with fear. "Will you go?" they asked. Aldric stood in silence for a long moment, then shook his head. "No. But you are the greatest knight the kingdom has ever known," the messenger pleaded. Aldric's voice was calm. "I was, but I was also invisible. I bled for a king who never learned my name. I will not die for people who only remember me when they need something. That is not loyalty. That is convenience. And I am done being convenient." The messenger left. The kingdom fell. And Aldric felt nothing. No guilt, no regret. Only the quiet peace of a man who had finally chosen himself. The villagers gathered around him that night. They did not celebrate the kingdom's fall, but they understood. "You saved us," one of them said, "not with a sword, but by showing us that we matter." Aldric smiled for the first time in years. "I did not save you. You saved me. You reminded me that care is not something you earn. It is something you deserve." Years later, when Aldric was an old man on his deathbed, the village gathered around him. They held his hands. They spoke his name. They wept. And in his final breath, Aldric realized the truth he had been searching for his entire life. The people who care will show you without you needing to beg for it. Now let us return to you. You are not Aldric, but you know his pain. You have given your time, energy, and love to people who never gave it back. You have convinced yourself that if you just try harder, care more, sacrifice deeper, they will finally see you. But that is the lie. They already see you. They just do not value you. Listen carefully. The people who truly care about you will never make you question their care. They will show up. They will reciprocate. They will remember your name. Everyone else is noise. And noise does not deserve your silence. It does not deserve your loyalty. It does not deserve your life. So here is your choice. You can keep standing at the gate waiting for people who will never call your name. Or you can walk into the forest and find the village that has been waiting for you. Let go of the people who treat you like an option. Not because you hate them, but because you respect yourself too much to beg for the bare minimum. Stop watering dead plants. Stop rebuilding bridges that others have burned. Stop giving your heart to people who have no intention of protecting it. This is not cruelty. This is survival. This is self-respect. This is the only way you will ever find peace. Aldric wasted 30 years before he learned this lesson. You do not have to. You can choose differently. Right now. Today. Walk away from the people who only remember you when they need something. Walk away from the ones who take your care for granted. Walk away from the relationships that drain you dry. And when you do, you will find something extraordinary. Space, clarity, energy. And in that space, the right people will finally be able to find you. Because the people who are meant for you will never make you feel like you are too much or not enough. They will meet you where you are, and they will stay. So stop wasting your life on people who never care. Not because they are evil, but because your time is finite, and every second you give to the wrong people is a second stolen from the right ones. Aldric learned this truth in a forest. You are learning it now. The question is, what will you do with it? But this is only half the truth. To truly master the art of letting go, you must watch this video next. It will show you how to rebuild yourself after you walk away.